Okay, so this is a little post on Imgur. I don't use this site, and I'm probably saying it wrong, so don't laugh at it. What's it called? This one, do you know?
No. Where?
Imgur. It's like an image site. It's quite Imgur. It's quite like Reddit, I believe, but I've never used this one before. I don't think.
It's a bit like Tumblr, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit like Tumblr as well. Yeah.
Tumblr.
So okay, we've got this cool but cool post. We're going to read this one first. Stop doing that. Even though we say law and order, the law part is the secondary role of the police. Dissuading folks from committing crimes, taking reports, driving around, etc. The main job of the cops is maintaining the social order. What's our social order? It's straight, white, able-bodied cis men at the top, and everyone else, women, queer folks, Asians, black people, disabled folks, and First Nations below. So that's why the suffragettes marched. The cops moved in to keep them in their place. So that's why when the suffragettes marched, the cops moved in to keep them in their place. Very good point, right? Very good point. That's why when gay people marched for equal rights, the cops started hitting. And that's why the cops attack every civil rights movement from Alabama to BLM. Wow. In every case, it's people asking for fairness and equality, but in our society, the job we've given police is to tell those people no. So what's different in Ottawa? Truckers aren't trying to change the social order, they're trying to preserve it. Very true. For the last 100 years, the monopoly that straight white men have held on power, social, political and economic, has been slowly eroding as everyone else has fought for equal footing. Yeah, and a lot of men hate this. They do, and we're seeing now. What we're seeing now is the backlash from some of those angry men. Wow, this is so true. When Trump said "Make America Great Again," he meant give straight white men undisputed power again, and he absolutely did. That's the same message being spread by folks like Rogan and Peterson today. Things were better for us when we were in charge. Oh, the fucking snakes. Whoever this guy is, man, literally, this guy's an absolute G. This is why the trucker movement, ostensibly about vaccines and restrictions, is targeting women, minorities and queer folk. I didn't know that. Straight white men are using the tools that groups in power have always used when that power is threatened. Fear, intimidation and violence. Shit, some fire-ass Fred, this dude. It's not fundamentally different, except so far, in degree, from the violence that Russia visits on gays, or India's upper castes upon Dalits. Wow, this guy's really going for it here. And I don't know about this, but I don't know. I'm struggling to pronounce words. It's not people losing power, it's people being asked to share the power and saying no. Absolutely true. So true. This is partly why so many of the truckers hold such visceral hate for Trudeau. With his carefully stage-managed image as a feminist, many of these men seem as a traitor to their efforts of regaining their social status. The Ottawa police respond so differently to the truckers, laughing and joking with them, bringing them coffee and taking selfies. Wow, really? Is that what's been happening over there? Yeah. Shit. They know these angry men aren't a threat to the social order, they're fighting to restore it. We're asking the cops to do their job, but the horrible truth is they are doing it. We're just not ready to be honest with ourselves about what the job actually is. But anyway, since January the 28th, Canada's capital city of Ottawa has been under siege by a convoy of angry truckers. A 2-week running protest that has drawn support from right-wing extremists in Canada and abroad. The so-called Freedom Convoy is nominally protesting a vaccine mandate for truckers implemented in mid-January on both sides of the US-Canadian border, but the demonstrations have swiftly ballooned into a broader far-right movement. And honestly, this is the probably the main reason why I kind of am paying more attention to this whole situation. Because my gosh, it has spread so far now. Like, I'm surprised that people aren't doing it in the UK. Are there? Well, I think we've got our own shit going on over here, though, haven't we? To be honest, we've got our own problems.
Boris is trying to dismiss that as much.
Yeah, Boris is we've got our own problems. But this time, with some demonstrators waving Confederate and Nazi flags. Who the hell even makes Nazi flags? Like, where would one obtain a Nazi flag? This is a ridiculous thing to have. Gordon Bennett. Protesters' demands include an end to all COVID-19 restrictions in Canada and the resignation of the PM. Wow. Maybe if they all went home and flipping social distance, we could all come back out. God dang it. The demonstrators, which have included as many as 8,000 people at their peak, have terrorised Ottawa, blockading streets, harassing citizens, forcing business closures, and honking their extremely loud horns all night. Ottawa police, who have proven some combination of unwilling and unable to restore order. Wow, interesting. Unwilling and unable. That's kind of giving a little bit of credence to that last thread that we've just read there. Saying about how the cops basically aren't doing nothing. Or they are doing their job, and the people that are protesting are not the enemy, basically. It's kind of wild to think. I've even set up a special hotline to deal with a deluge of alleged hate crimes stemming from the protests. Wow, so again, talking about how they've been targeting people, is that shit is actually happening? In the first week of February, it received over 200 calls. God damn, you hearing this shit?
I am.
What the hell, man?
I am, bro.
I did not know it was that bad. I mean, again, this is a very probably left leaning, but can anybody corroborate this story? Anybody in the chat? Is this actually really happening? Is this really going down like that? Kez, I just made you some coffee, milk first, and posted it in Discord. Oh, bless you. Let's have a gander. Food and drink. Oh, wow, look at that. God damn. That's a coffee.
Yeah, it looks like a bit like a little cappuccino, yeah.
Now that is a coffee. Wowzers. Very nice. Yeah, I am much less posh than that. I probably could do that, I think. Maybe. But it probably won't come out that good, I don't think. That was really nice. That looks insanely good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it looks very cool. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Gosh, I want a frothy coffee now. A frothy coffee! Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson has declared a state of emergency, and Trudeau's government has deployed hundreds of Royal Canadian Mounted Police to the protests. As the situation in Ottawa continues, the Freedom Convoy movement has expanded across the country. Interesting. Ah, here we go, look, it's getting spicy down here. But while the protests are generating a lot of noise and attention, the eruption actually points up a counterintuitive fact. The Canadian far right is weak and ineffectual, especially when it comes to pandemic restrictions. Ooh, spicy! That is pretty spicy. Weak and ineffectual. Damn. That's two words you don't want to hear about yourself. Canada's provinces have generally employed strict COVID-19 measures, such as school mask mandates and vaccine passports. Like, man, that's really being called flipping strict measures. Like, that's not really, is it? I mean, strict measures is don't go out anywhere. That's strict. I mean, it is still pretty strict, I guess. It's not like they're just saying do what you want, but I don't know, man. I'm not sure. Yes, it's a group of protesters who have mistaken inconvenience with oppression, and they won't go away. Yeah, right. Like, it is kind of wild, that, really. And I mean, there was always, like this whole air within the right wing sphere of just basically people that are pissed off with the restrictions and stuff, and it's like everybody's pissed off with the restrictions. These people just can't take it at all, I guess. I don't even know what to say about them, honestly. It's wild to think. Right. Including during the recent Omicron surge. They have enjoyed broad public support in doing so. Even the strictest restrictions are less controversial in Canada than in the US. The current demonstration is quite unpopular with the general public, divisive even inside the centre-right Conservative Party. Interesting. That doesn't mean the movement will accomplish nothing. It has already contributed to a revolt against the Conservative Party leader and is serving as an important organising node for far rightists. Weird. The border crossing blockage is putting more stress on the US-Canada supply chain. Wow, yeah, not a good time to be doing this, is it? Costing by one estimation $300 million a day in economic damage. Damn, man. Copycat efforts in the United States and France. God, man. But it's important to understand the broader context in Canada. News coverage of the convoy, especially from sympathetic anchors on Fox News, may lead Americans to believe that Canada is in the midst of a far-right popular uprising. In reality, the mainstream consensus in Canada about COVID-19 and the nation's institutions in general is holding. The so-called trucker movement is on the fringe, including among Canadian truckers, some 90% of whom are vaccinated. They are angry because they have lost. Damn. Thank you, Lena. Thank you. I will check that out. Actually, where do we get that? Oh, we've got a YouTube link there as well. And I will read the comments out in just a second. We will get back to the coffee debate in just a second. Like I say, it's a hill I'm going to die on. I'm only joking. I'm probably going to do it differently because, like, Jen's coffee looked amazing and mine doesn't look that nice, so I want one of Jen's coffees. I think Georgia said as well, if you have a coffee it has to be frothy, and definitely the superior way. Like, forget milk first or any of that crap. Frothy is the superior coffee. Absolutely. Did I see that you actually have a frother as well? That is awesome. What is a frother, Lou?
It's for to make milk.
What does it do though?
Creates foam.
What is it? What
it's a machine that gets to a certain
like
temperature and it spins.
Oh shit! Really?
And it makes froth. Yeah.
No way! That is super.
I've got a coffee machine, so it's different. We use it with steam. Yeah, beautiful coffee.
Yeah, I used to have a good coffee machine, but honestly, for the sake of it, I'd rather make my own.
Coffee machine you got,
I mean, I definitely need a percolator. That's one thing that I do need, because the coffee that I'm drinking now has absolutely nothing on proper coffee that comes from like actual ground beans.
Yeah.
This is like that instant crap that's got nothing on it really. Canadians against truckers. I'm heading to work. Have a great day. Thank you, Lola. Take care of yourself. I hope you have a fabulous day at work. I just added the article I read earlier about Christia. Christia? Is that Christia? I'm saying that wrong. Thank you, Lena. We will read that out in just a second then. I think we've kind of halfway through this now. We're not far off, I don't believe. And I think now it's going to start getting interesting. So, Canadians against truckers. I've been to Canada several times since the beginning of the pandemic, driving over the Peace Bridge from Buffalo into southern Ontario. The differences between the two countries become apparent almost immediately upon crossing the border. At gas stations and rest stops in upstate New York, masks are treated as optional at best. Once you cross the border, virtually everyone you see indoors is masked up. When my daughter developed a fever from an ear infection, I was asked to provide a negative COVID-19 test upon entry to an urgent care facility. Without one, we were told we would have been turned away. I mean, that's crazy, to be honest. Yeah, it's the right way to say a different name. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. My experiences reflect the country's much stricter government policies. Vaccine passports, school mask mandates, and even bans on private indoor gatherings larger than 10 people have been widely used across Canadian provinces. Even Alberta, and the priory heart of Canadian conservatism, had imposed all three, with Jason Kenney, the province's Conservative Premier, arguing in September that a passport system was the only way to cut viral transmission without destroying businesses, which is kind of a good idea. I mean, honestly, not the worst idea, at least. How does everybody feel about vaccine passports? I think we spoke about them before, and I think largely people don't really, us lot, we don't really care about them, right? I'd love to hear if anybody does. There's certainly some thing to be said about it, you know. You got a lighter, Lou?
Yeah, bro.
There's certainly something to be said. Certainly something to be said about, you know, needing this like extra flipping passport thing, and you know, should we be giving the government more data and this, that, and the other? But man, it's a public health crisis right now, you know. Anything to get out of it at this point. Alberta and several other Canadian provinces are now in the process of lifting some of the more burdensome restrictions, but this generally reflects the Omicron surge's ebb rather than a wave of public oppression. In Ontario, home to Ottawa and Toronto, the Conservative provincial government is following a pre-existing reopening script, pegging to decline in case counts and hospitalisations. Some provincial leaders, like Quebec's François Legault, noted that reopening plans were in no way influenced by trucker shenanigans. Whoa, cool, I used that word earlier. There is a reason Canadian politicians have taken this stance. Poll after poll finds Canadians have widely supported restrictive pandemic policies at both the federal and provincial levels. But this is not to say they enjoy restrictions on the freedoms. Who does? But simply that they believe the government has an obligation to act when case counts are high. Absolutely. This is especially clear when it comes to the more coercive vaccination rules, ostensibly the Freedom Convoy's main target. Interesting. The January edition of the COVID-19 Monitor, a regular survey of Canadian attitudes about the pandemic, finds that about 3/4 of Canadians support vaccine passports for indoor dining and gatherings. Strikingly, 70% would strongly or somewhat support a vaccine mandate for all eligible adults, a vastly more restrictive policy than any province has actually attempted. What's more, the researchers behind COVID-19 Monitor find that on most issues, support has remained relatively stable throughout the pandemic. Strong evidence that this isn't just a short-term blip caused by Omicron. It makes sense then that the trucker protest is wildly unpopular. Yeah, it does with those numbers. The polling firm Innovative Research Group has conducted 3 separate rounds of polling since the beginning of the convoy and found that public opposition has risen as the protest has gone on. In the most recent survey conducted February 4th to the 9th, I believe, a scant 29% of Canadians expressed support for the idea of the protest, while 53% disapproved. Interesting. These are interesting numbers, to be fair. A separate survey by Leger, I think, released on February the 8th, found that 62% of Canadians oppose the message that the trucker convoy protests are conveying of no vaccine mandates and less public health measures. I don't even know if that makes sense. 65% of respondents agreed that the demonstrators represented a small minority of Canadians who are thinking only about themselves, which I think we've said similar things like that. Why the trucker protest matters even though they're losing. It's worth emphasising that the movement does not have to be popular with a majority to have influence. During the trucker protests, an uprising against Conservative Party leader Erin O'Toole succeeded in toppling him from the top spot. Wow. The challenge was fuelled in part by Conservative members of Parliament frustrated by O'Toole's unequivocal stance on the convoy. Okay, with many in the ranks calling on the party to embrace the truckers. Shit, dude, embrace the truckers. Oh, we might as well read it on there. The leadership challenge points to the bigger effect of the protest. It is a rare action by the Canadian far right that's gaining mainstream attention and backing. Even if the trucker protests do recede, their show of strength has won them demonstrable support abroad, including financial support, and has established large communities online that could fuel future activity. That is such a good point. That's why I'm worried that they're bloody managing to raise so much money. Like, the only way that they're able to raise so much money is they've either got rich people that are wanting to fund them, which is terrifying, or they've got tons of people that are willing to give them money, which is terrifying. Either way, they get to have a shitload of money to do whatever they want with, buy tons of guns, you know. Do another one of those January the 6th things, you know, where, what were the Oath Keepers? Remember those Oath Keeper dudes that were flipping acting like they were basically like an army. Like, it was insane. I mentioned at one point that basically they've been cracking down on like the financing part of it, as I'm sure everybody is aware at this point. These kind of protests are only as dangerous as the danger that they possess kind of corresponds with how big the bank account is. The more money they've got, they're far more dangerous. Like, absolutely. Not to mention they're all gathered together now, and there's this whole movement or this solidarity thing, you know. But okay, we'll read this. The federal government has announced that crowdfunding platforms will now have to comply with Canada's financial reporting rules and is authorising banks to freeze accounts it suspects to be involved with the Freedom Convoy's illegal blockades. That's big. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland gave notice on Monday that should sites like GoFundMe and GiveSendGo, the two platforms used by the convoy organisers to raise funds, wish to operate in Canada, they must immediately register with the Financial Transactions and Report Analysis Centre of Canada, or FINTRAC. This will help mitigate the risk that these platforms receive illicit funds, increase the quality and quantity of intelligence received by FINTRAC, and make more information available to support investigations by law enforcement into these illegal blockades, said Freeland. She announced the move as part of the government's invoking of the Never Before Used Emergencies Act. Whoa. What the hell? That sounds fucking terrifying, dude. Sorry, that's a link I'm going to have to press. Act to address trucker protest. For the first time in Canadian history, the federal government is enacting the Emergencies Act, declaring a public order emergency. Wow. In affecting the extraordinary powers, the federal government is moving with a wide sweeping range of new measures. Wow. God damn, man. Right now, the situation requires additional tools not held by a... Wow, dude. I'm not going to read into that one too much, y'all, but shit, man, that is wild. It is so... I literally did not know it was so bad. This is why I'm so gobsmacked by all this. Like, the last I heard, it was just some truckers blocking some roads. Like, legit. This shit is insane, dude. You're talking in the space of a couple of weeks, mate. This thing has really become something of its own. It's its own beast now, innit? Meeting that objective in part requires cutting off the financial supply to those involved. Yeah, I mean, sure. The government is directing financial institutions to review their relationships with anyone involved with the blockades and report them to the authorities, basically. As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. Wow. In doing so, they will be protected against civil liberty for actions taken in good faith. That's doing a lot of work, innit? Actions taken in good faith. Shit, man. Like, wowzers. That is intense, dude. Super intense. This is about following the money. I have to agree. This is about stopping the financing of these illegal blockades. We are today serving notice. If your truck is being used in these illegal blockades, your corporate accounts will be frozen. They're also seizing financial institutions with the power to cut off services to those suspected of supporting the protesters. Wow, the convoy organisers raised more than 10 million on GoFundMe, bro. Are you listening to this shit? 10 flipping million on GoFundMe before the platform closed its doors on the movement, citing concerns with its objectives. Good on you. I bet they've taxed that money. I bet that's getting spent on bubbly. Besides the 1 million already released to the group, the rest of the money is being refunded. Okay, I take it back. Wow.
They still took $1 million though.
Yeah, mate, crazy. They've since turned to Christian website Give Send Go, where they've raised more than 8.4 million as of last Thursday. The site is currently offline for maintenance and server updates after reported hacks. The site will now be required to report to FinTrack directly about suspicious large cash and large virtual currency transactions. Electronic transactions of 10 grand or more out of or into Canada in a single transaction, or 2 or more transactions totaling 10 grand must also be reported. So obviously they're just going to start, doing it in 9 grand increments, aren't they? 999 increments. Obviously, like, shit. FinTrack already detects, prevents and deters money laundering and the financing of terrorist activities in entities such as banks, casinos, money service businesses and real estate. Yeah, I don't know why they're putting banks there when they pretty much let HSBC fucking take money off the Sinaloa cartel for 10 years, but sure.
They're making too much money.
Sure, yeah, sure that that FinTrack are already detecting shit
They're feeling money, mate.
I mean, come off it. Anyway, it's not a law enforcement or investigative agency. These changes cover all forms of transactions, including digital assets such as cryptocurrencies. Well, The illegal blockades have highlighted the fact that crowdfunding platforms and some of the payment service providers they use are not fully captured under the Proceeds of Crime and Terrorist Financing Act. Wow, that's a big charge. The government is bringing forward legislation to make these changes to FinTrack's mandate permanent. Shit, dude. This by CTV News, showing that donations appear to be pouring in from south of the border. Donations to Freedom Convoy 2022 page on the Christian website Give Send Go from those who say they are in the US may actually outnumber donations from Canadians, with Americans reached by CTV News saying that they are donating because they are finding common cause with the Canadian truckers. Wow, I really believe in what they're doing. I think the countries have got to start working together. Freedom is important to all of us, said Dory Hill, reached at her farm in Michigan. Hill, who is unvaccinated and a Republican, big surprise, said she isn't very politically active but donated $50 after hearing about the convoy on a podcast. Wow, what the hell? I want them to let people of every country, whether Prime Minister, President, whoever, know that we're serious about wanting freedom back, she said in an interview. And like, you know, when they're saying this, like, they really mean they want freedom back for white males. You know, white straight males. It really is, isn't it? That's the subtext here. Truly is. It's these insane old white men that are losing power and fucking going absolutely ballistic about it.
They can't do with change.
CTV News sampled some 6,500 donations over a 12-hour period coming into Give Send Go, together worth, wow, nearly $630,000 in 12 hours. What the hell, dude? It's ridiculous. Of those, about 35% were anonymous donations or clearly pseudonyms, such as Justin Trudeau. Sorry. Of the remainder, CTV News counted those who declared their location or made it clear what country they were from. About 10% among the names listed are Buckhorn Texans for Freedom from Government and the Republican Club of Lakeland, Florida. What the hell? In that smaller sample, Canadian donations accounted for about 36% of the money gained. Small amounts came from people who said they were in the UK, Germany, Australia, Hong Kong, with donations coming as far away as Latvia and Japan, the records show. But dwarfing them all were donations from those who said they were in the United States, about 52% of identifiable donations. Wow, man. In that country, right-wing politicians and media figures have promoted the convoy and also threatened an investigation into funding platform GoFundMe for refunding most of its donations. Wow, what the hell? It's an organic groundswell from the people, and I think the Canadian truckers are standing up not just for freedom of Canadians, but for the freedom of Americans. Senator Ted Cruz told Media Wednesday. What an absolute joke. Man.
Crazy though.
Wow. Wow.
Said by a senator.
Wow, man. That is so wild. How is he even allowed to do that? It's clearly not an organic groundswell from the people. Like, clearly not. No organic flipping movement can raise 10 million in 12 hours after 2 weeks of being operational. Like, this really makes me believe that this shit is like, man, I'm about to get my tinfoil hat out me, y'all. Seriously. I am not even scared at this point. Seems like all these lot have got the hat on. So speaking of that, do you fancy go put an oven on, Lou?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get that bad boy preheated for us. We're gonna have bangers and mash, everybody. I'm right looking forward to it. I'm starving. Oh my gosh. Courtesy of our lovely friend Lola for sending us a Valentine's present yesterday. Buying us food. I went and got some beautiful, beautiful food today, and I'm very excited to eat some of it. Yeah. I ain't even had no tea yet, have we? I haven't had no tea, yeah? You had tea? We got back a bit late. Stream earlier on today was a little nice long one, so we got back pretty late. Oh, you never guess what happened earlier as well, gang. Seriously, check this out. So we'd walked round the park for a bit, done his thing, obviously, and then we obviously left, walked towards town. We had a little wander around town, and then I went to my dad's. The second I got to my dad's, Lewis got dropped off at the park. Like, seriously, I was so upset. So we walked. He had to walk back on, sadly, and I walked on and met him, and then we walked home. So yeah, we got back a little late, so I ain't even had no tea yet. But I'm very, very hungry. But we're gonna finish this though. But something that appears organic may actually be organised by right-wing networks, drawing on an American base of support for a political issue internal to Canada, said Alexander Ross, an adjunct, I have no idea what that means, professor at Portland State Uni. when you have this kind of intervention from one country to another, you start to see the transnational networks that compose the modern far right, he said. Givsengo did not respond to an email from CTV News asking for a full breakdown of sources of funds by country for the money that had been raised so far for the trucker convoy, or to question whether it planned to refund the money as well. Like, why would any of these platforms be bothered at all? They do not give a shit. Like, all this money, they're taking, like, you know, percentages off. They are loving it. We're going to burn some Palo Santo, gang. A little bit of positivity. A little bit of positivity for you. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, donate to a cause to get in the middle of our politics, but get after Putin and Jinping for getting involved in US politics. Pretty hypocritical. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And this is what like really makes me like believe this thread. What this thread we're getting at. What Jess shared earlier. You know, it ain't about basically it ain't about like me or you. It's about these rich white folk that are losing power rapidly. They've hijacked this, whatever the heck this was going to be. They've completely hijacked this. And they've hijacked the far right. I've told you many a times that, you know, there's YouTube channels that they're getting paid more money than, like, you know, where we will ever probably see in a lifetime. Normal chap will ever see in a lifetime. They're getting paid this by these far right extremists just to go out on YouTube and spout absolute garbage. They're really pushing their hardest to, you know, destroy the progression basically, and, you know, take away the freedom that everybody else is getting, you know, literally from women to coloured people to gays to flipping transsexuals and stuff, transgender. Pardon my language. Is it right? I might be saying that wrong. I'm sorry if I am. But yeah, this is why they're attacking, you know, people like that. It's ridiculous. At a press conference Wednesday, Canadian Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino said he was concerned about the rapid pace of transactions and the sheer size of donations. I'm relieved, as I think we all are, that GoFundMe put a stop to the distribution of funds to the convoy. Clearly, they had looked carefully and with meticulous detail at who was contributing. And I also think... I think also examined the very important question about what these funds could be used to do. True. Emergency Preparedness Minister, what the hell, Bill Blair said, we're all concerned about the lack of transparency and accountability and how these funds are being used. He authorised a $300 donation from his group because he believed in medical freedom. A lot of people are concerned about vaccines mandates and other mandates. When asked if he would support a group of left-wing Canadians donating money to left-wing causes in the United States, I guess that's probably going to be determined by where you stand. I assume the truckers are happy to have support from abroad. People opposed to their movement may see it as unwelcome guests. Wow, look at that, man. Wild. Very wild. Well, that definitely is some incredible information. If you got any questions, any comments, please do feel free. And thank you very kindly for listening. I do appreciate y'all listening.